my senior presentation. The first thing that I'm going to go over is the universal constructs. These are skills that are necessary to succeed in 21st century society as deemed by the administration. The parts of the universal constructs are critical thinking, complex communication, creativity, collaboration, flexibility and adaptability, and productivity and accountability. So, the first universal construct that I'm going to be talking about today is collaboration. And this is defined as non-hierarchical leadership based on individual skill sets, respect for a complex process that requires individuals to contribute and participate in meaningful interactions, the belief that group synergy enhances productivity, understanding and application of effective group processes to solve problems, productive group interactions, and respectful disagreement. So I've learned collaboration through many different ways throughout my high school career. One of them being marching band, where it's essentially a 180-person group project where you have all these different people working together. And I had the honor of being a section leader this year, and I was in charge of a small group of clarinet players. And I learned a lot through having to work with them and help them and communicate with the other section leaders. And then the second way I learned collaboration was through a program called G². Now this program doesn't exist here anymore, but basically what it was is it replaced all your core classes with project-based learning, which is instead of sitting down and taking tests or taking notes from a teacher, what you did was you created a project based on a central idea, and all the learning came through figuring out this project by yourself and with your roommates, of course. And I learned how to cooperate with many different types of people, and I learned how to cooperate with a lot of uncooperative people, which, as rough as that was, I think it is a valuable skill. So the example that I want to share to you that is a product of collaboration is the Game of Life project. Basically what this was is we had to take the board game, the Game of Life, and translate it to an ancient civilization. This was for history class. And we chose the Aztec Society. And I learned how to collaborate with 3 other different people. All had varying skill sets, personalities, and it was tough, but we managed to work together and we created this board game. And of course, the strengths that I utilized were my art talents. And as you can see the board there, I hand painted the whole thing myself. And there's also little game pieces that I sculpted and painted. And we learned how to work past conflicts and work with everyone's skills to reach a conclusion. And I'm pretty proud of the result, even though the board has been demolished since then, which is a shame. Alright, the second universal construct I will be talking about is critical thinking. This is the thoughtful questioning that challenges assumptions and promotes higher order thinking that leads to new insights and validates perceptions. It is the metacognition that supports reflective practice. It's the process that analyzes, selects, uses, and evaluates various approaches to develop solutions. It involves critical issues that develop innovative responses, analysis and synthesis of multiple sources and points of information, intentional use of disciplinary frameworks to analyze complex issues and information, and the suspension of judgment while collecting evidence to make determinations. So I've learned critical thinking in pretty much every aspect of every class that I've ever taken in high school. You really can't succeed without it. Although the 2 classes that I've utilized this the most are my math classes and science classes. For math, we especially did projects where the teacher would not directly give us the answer to the problem or just show us how to solve the problem. She would give us, and particularly in my geometry class, she would give us an assignment that was set up like figure out how to find the area of a triangle, and she would give us like pieces of paper, and basically we had to work out the equation ourselves, and that was through that critical thinking. The methods stuck in my head a lot better. And then of course science, which worked the same way, where instead of a teacher just standing up and giving exposition, we would do labs in order to come to conclusions ourselves. And And the project I chose for this was the evolution project. It was also a G-squared project. This time what we had to do was find two animals and try to find their common ancestor. And me and my partner chose bats and bandicoots, and we found out that their ancestor was a small mammalian creature from several million years ago. And this required a lot of complicated research and, of course, teamwork. But through critical thinking, we completed this project and found their common ancestor. All right, the next one is complex communication. This is the integration of appropriate forms of information communication technology, understanding the interactions among modes of communication, meaningful and engaging interactions, focus, energy, and passion around the key message, and navigation through nuances of effective communication. So, for complex communication, I thought it sounded a lot like collaboration. So, of course, I put G-squared, and I talked about that already. I also narrowed it down to just personal speaking and being able to effectively communicate things. And I learned that mostly through speech and drama class, where we did speeches, just typical speeches like I'm doing now, where we standed up and delivered information. I also did a review, which I will talk about in a second. And then the other project we did was mime, which involved, we had to tell a story completely through nonverbal communication. And that was a lot of fun. So the project that I decided to talk about to represent complex communication was the speech and drama contest. I had to create an 8-minute long review, and I did this on one of my favorite video games. And we took it to the state and regional contest, and I delivered it in front of an audience. And I received 3 Division I ratings, and I'm pretty proud of that. And through that, I demonstrated that I could utilize complex communication. All right, the final universal construct I'm going to talk about, and the one that I think applies to me the most, is creativity. This is defined as a disciplined process that includes skill, knowledge, imagination, inspiration, and evaluation. It is capturing, collecting new ideas for current and future use. It is a combination of seemingly unrelated ideas into something new. Engagement in formal and informal learning experiences. Divergent thinking. Entrepreneurial thinking that encourages unique thoughts and applications. A comfort level with open-ended challenges that reflect multiple approaches and results. Reconfiguration of current thought within a new context. And pattern recognition across disciplines that result in an innovative outcome. Sorry, my trackpad's kind of broken. There we go. Okay. So I've demonstrated creativity through a lot of different classes. I primarily focused on taking art classes throughout my high school career. One of them being marching band and bands. Of course, there's musical expression in that, and I learned how to play the clarinet. There was painting class, which I learned, well, I already knew how to paint, so I put into practice a lot of the skills that I already knew. And I also helped direct the mural that is outside the Success Center. You guys saw that. And I'm pretty proud of that. Well, I didn't take drawing class. Most of my classes I spent drawing in my free time. And I learned a lot through that, even though it really wasn't a class per se. There was also Photoshop class, which is something that I really didn't know how to use. Same thing with Illustrator. There were 2 programs that I had sort of a basic knowledge about, but I never actually used. But in those classes, I learned how to use them, and I learned how, especially Illustrator, which I knew nothing about. I learned a lot more about like graphic design and actually making logos and how that works. And then of course ceramics, which is also something I had no knowledge about before I took the class in high school, which is basically making pottery and learning how to use the potter's wheel. And then the class that I forgot to list up there was sculpture, which is like ceramics, but instead of using a potter's wheel, we create art just through molding things with your hands, and we also got to create a stone carving. Basically how this project worked is we were given a limestone block, and we had to design a picture to be able to carve onto it. And this particular carving is called a relief carving, as opposed to like a typical marble sculpture. This one's just flat. So we started with the sketch, and then after we finalized that, what we did was translated it onto the piece of stone, and then took a chisel and a hammer and outlined it. And then it was just a process of removing all this extra stone here. I actually have a big picture of this. It took a long time removing all the stone around the dragon, and then going back, defining all the other features, and then at the very end I added this texture in the background, and I took a really, really fine sandpaper and wax and polished it up, and that's the final result. And that is something I would have never been able to do had I not taken that class. Alright, so then my favorite part, I get to talk about the other works of art that I've done here at Prairie. These are two examples that I actually just finished in Illustrator class. The way I did this was through vector art as opposed to what I usually do, which is, of course, I use a tablet and sort of paint whatever I'm drawing. The way this works is that it uses mathematical equations, like you set a point down and then draw a line, and it's basically a whole series of shapes put together. And the benefit about this type of art is that it can be zoomed in or zoomed out as much as you want, and it won't lose any quality. This is another project that I did in Photoshop class, although it wasn't actually a project. I actually did this on the side in between projects. And this is the final result. I actually got to use a very high-end Wacom pen tablet to make this. And it took, like, I think 3 weeks to make, and this is the final result of that. This is another thing that isn't necessarily a project that I took that was required of me, but I used the skills that I learned in sculpture class to create this bug monster thing. It's made out of polymer clay, and it has a wire frame in the inside, and it took about 40 hours to make over the span of like 6 or 7 months. And I'm pretty proud of this. And I think it turned out really well. Here's some of the things I did in ceramics class. I actually have one of them right here. This is a jar I made with a lid in ceramics too. And how I made this was, of course, I threw the jar, and then what the project was is we had to put a sculpture onto it. So you can see this dragon here. I basically cut them out of a sheet of clay and stuck them on one piece at a time. And then we had to throw a lid to go on top of it. And this is the final result. And then I also have these dragons, which again is not a project you do in ceramics. I made these on the side. And then the last one is what this is actually two separate pieces stacked on top of each other. So I threw the bottom part, and then after that I dried a bit. I put sort of a cylinder on top of it to create this piece. And then after that, I added a handle and made it into a dragon. If you can't tell, I really like to draw dragons and do art of melded dragons. It's really easy to fall back on, and they're a lot of fun. Alright, this is an actual project from Photoshop class. It was not made on the side. This was an assignment. What we had to do was go onto the internet and grab a bunch of pictures, and then make a collage out of them. And we also had to incorporate a song, and because I wanted to do cats, I don't really know any songs about cats, so here's the Meow Mix theme. Meow, 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 meow. Why not? It's art. Here's another one I did. This time I chose the theme of clocks, and this actually involved a lot of really intricate layering. In the background it's really hard to see, really faint, but I cut together a bunch of images of the inner workings of a clock. I created a stamp that was a clock, and it's really hard to see, but I just sort of stamped that all over the place, and then I cut together a bunch of different clocks, and of course the Elizabeth Tower in there, and yeah, this is how it turned out. For my future plans, I will be attending Kirkwood to pursue a liberal arts degree. I know a lot of people struggle to figure out what they want to pursue in college, but I'm lucky enough I've always known that I've wanted to pursue art, so if that works out, I might possibly transfer to UNI and pursue a 4-year degree. If I had to give some advice to future students, get here early if you want a good parking spot. You will have to walk really far to get here if you come late. The second one is just get to class on time. I see so many kids just fail completely at school because they just don't show up to class. I mean, once you get to class, it's really not that hard, so don't fall into that habit. And then the third one is don't overlook the art classes. For this one, there's two meanings to this. One of them is, a lot of people don't know we have certain art classes, like the ceramics one. I've talked to people and they're like, wait, we have a ceramics room? Because it's tucked away in like a corner of the room, a corner of the school. And then the second meaning to that is, there's a lot of people who take art classes just because they think it's going to be easy and they can do nothing. And it's really a shame, because I think they would have fun if they really tried to apply themselves. So, alright. So, thank you to all the teachers that I've had throughout the years, and of course, thank you to my parents for supporting me and paying for stuff like clarinet and instruments, and mostly band fees, really. And then, of course, thanks to my friends who have been here for me throughout this entire time. Thank you.